So let's talk about the difference in how society treats men and how society treats women, because this is something that I think is very noticeable today. When a woman is sick or injured or disabled, she's seen as someone who needs help. When a man is sick or injured or disabled, he's seen as a burden. He's seen as an inconvenience because a man's value is not inherent. Men are not judged on inherent value. Men are not given inherent value by society, which means people don't see men as valuable just for being human beings. Men are judged as how valuable they can be to other people. How do you work? How do you produce? Are you a hunter? Are you a builder? Are you a gatherer? Etc. I think a lot of the protest for George Floyd wasn't because he was a black man. It was because he was black. And a lot of people misunderstand that. They think it's a white lives matter thing, but I don't see it that way. I think it's more about gender than about race, because a white woman would still get protests because, oh, she's a woman and it's violence against women, whereas a white man would not. But not because he's white, but because he's a man. And this is why I'm always telling black men that they should be MRAs and they should look in the men's rights movement, because a lot of the issues that black men and white men face are the same as men. Yes, of course, there are differences. I understand that black men have more challenges because they're black. 100%, that is true. At the same time, though, as men, there are many shared male experiences. The way that male victims of domestic violence are treated. When a woman is violent to her boyfriend or her husband, the way he's kind of laughed at or mocked or ignored, this is something that black men and white men and men of any race have in common. The way that homeless men are treated, the way that men are treated in the criminal justice system. There's a lot of things that happen to men because they're men, and I think there's a difference in how society treats women and how society treats men when they're in a tough situation. And how many men do you know have said something like, oh, I have impossible to pay child support, and they go to jail, or they don't eat every day because their child support is more money than they can afford? Or how many guys do you know have girlfriends or wives that beat on them and physically hurt them, like physically abuse them? And basically no one cares because they're men, so it's just kind of embarrassing for them, or people just laugh at them. Happens all the time to black men, white men, Asian, Hispanic, Indian. It doesn't matter. I mean, all guys in the world, in any country, of any nationality and any race, experience these things. They happen all the time. Where boys and men have certain expectations because they're boys and men, and they have certain standards because they're boys and men. And I feel like in the conversations today with feminism and social justice and equality, a lot of people kind of ignore that. And that side's not being heard enough. When a man is a failure, let's say unsuccessful, unemployed, homeless, whatever, he's supposed to apologize to society. Oh, I'm not good enough. I don't produce enough. I don't work enough. I didn't make it. But when a woman is unsuccessful, it's the other way around. Society is supposed to apologize to her. Oh, we didn't take care of you enough. We didn't help you enough. We didn't give you enough. And this difference, I think, is a driving force into why so many men feel this presence of toxic masculinity. But it gets even worse when they're lectured to as to what toxic masculinity is, when it doesn't really fit their experiences. It's not something that they're doing to themselves, it's something that's being brought upon them. And toxic masculinity to me is something that is placed on men by society as a whole, and not just by other men. So let's talk about this. Guys, if you feel this way and you have women in your life that you care about, your mother, your wife, your girlfriend, your sister, whoever, say, hey, listen, I feel this way. What do you think about that? Talk to each other. Talk to your friends. Talk to your dad, your brother, your son, whoever. Women, maybe if you want to understand your boyfriend or your husband better, or your brother or your male friends, whoever it is, and you want to reach them and talk about these kinds of things, maybe ask them, hey, do you feel this way? Do you notice this? Does this ever happen? And feminists, you talk about how you want to talk about toxic masculinity and how it affects men in society today. Okay, maybe ask men, do you feel this way? Does this happen to you? Do you notice this? Do you feel that society treats you as a human being or as a commodity? Because when a man is productive and useful, he's seen as a commodity. But when he's not, if the chips are down for him, if he's not so fortunate right now, he's seen as a burden rather than as a person. And that's something that I can see in my life happens, and it's something that I've heard people around me talk about in my life. in my communities. I hear men talk about this stuff. So I know it's on our minds. And I know it's something that a lot of guys are conscious of. And I think it's something that is worthy of a conversation.